Welcome to Catalyst Conversations, the podcast where we spark powerful change in women's wealth. I'm Hadriana Leo, a wealth coach, counselor, and strategist, and each week we dive into the conversations, strategies, and stories that help women confidently create the life they've always dreamed of. So grab your favorite bevy, settle in, and let's get started on transforming your relationship with money. This is Catalyst Conversations, igniting change in women's wealth. Let's spark the conversation. I'm your host, Hadriana Leo, and I am so thrilled to be here with you and to introduce you to my guest. My guest describes herself as deaf, queen, boss. Oh my goodness. And I'm excited. Please welcome with me, make her feel real comfortable, Miss Kellina Powell. Hey, Kellina.
Hello, thanks for having me today. I'm excited.
Oh, I am most excited. I think for me, this is such an empowering conversation, and I know a little bit about your story, so I can't wait to share that with the rest of the whole world who's going to tune into our podcast, whether they're watching or listening. And I am thrilled that you have made the decision to join us. So you describe yourself as deaf queen boss, and there's so much kind of packed into that. Why these three words?
I would say because honestly, everyone, I didn't even think I was gonna call myself Japanese boss. Okay, like I really had no idea. So I knew I wanted a brand name that stand out, and I knew I wanted to make people attracted to what I have offer on the table. And so I'm quite known to be the boss. People call me queen all the time, and I'm also a deaf woman. And so I wanted to make it something together unique and something different. So people can be like, oh, who's the Deaf Queen Boss? Like, who is that? So I wanted people to feel excited when they hear about my story and to feel inspired. So I want people to feel like, wow, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yes, and that's fantastic. When I was growing up, which is not that long ago, people, come on. When I was a kid, I did have one deaf person that was a part of my more inner circle. She was part of the church that we attended, so she was in our congregation, and she was always considered like the general consensus was that we had to feel sorry for her. So when I hear you brand yourself as deaf queen boss, I'm like, wow, I love that you have embraced your special gifts, and I'm glad that you have not kind of hidden away from what is obviously a part of you. It's who you are. It definitely contributes. So before we dive into your story specifically, I usually start off with that quote or motto or phrase that just resonates with you personally. And this is what you provided. Your quote says, your voice is your power. Never be afraid to use it. I love it. Now tell me, Kellina, why did you choose that? How does that speak to you?
It speaks to me because it started when I was young. Had a hard of hearing person growing up in the hearing community. I felt like I didn't have a voice because my family always advocated for me, especially my friends. They always do the work for me, and I felt like I couldn't speak up a lot of time because I was so used to being bullied for my speech, and as well, I had teachers that bullied me as well, and people were
Wow.
surprised, and they're like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, because I didn't have a voice." And so I wanted people to really understand it that sometimes you never know who needs to hear it. And that's something I've been using and doing all my life while I graduated high school. When I got to university, that's when I said, you know what, I want to make an impact in the younger generation to let them know that they're not alone.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised as well. Help me understand how the teachers were part of not making high school or your education a fulfilling experience. You would think that your teachers in that position would be your advocates. How were they part of the bullying as well?
So such a so crazy because I'm talking about it now. And don't worry, guys, I'm not that young, but so my so I had a IEP for those who don't know, with the independent education plan, And I
Right.
remember my teachers would do it without me being present in the meeting. So my
Oh,
mom will be like, "You're Kalina, like she needs to be in the meeting. Like, why are you having it with me? Because I'm not with her in school." And so
right.
they would do so many things on my IEP without my permission. And that's one. And number two, um, and that's where I felt like I didn't have any voice because my mom was always advocating for me and said, Clean needs to be in the room. You guys need to stop doing IEP without her consent. Like, this is not right. Like, you don't know what the kids need. You can't listen to the teachers who say, no, Clean not paying attention in class. Or Clean is a social butterfly. Like, I'm known for a social butterfly, but it was hard for me to advocate and talk to my teachers because they used that discrimination against me, think, well, she's deaf and she have IEP, she'll be fine. I had teachers that
Wow.
said that to me. And then number three, I had a guidance counselor who didn't believe in me. I told her I wanted to become a doctor.
Hmm.
And she looked at me and she said, well, you're deaf. How are you supposed to hear?
Wow.
And she looked at me in my face and said that. And she just said, she forgot to put my grade in for post-secondary, and I did not go to university on time. I had to take a step back and do grade 12 all over again.
No way. Can you sue?
Unfortunately, we couldn't do because of Toronto. Yeah, no, it's the Toronto District School Board, so you can't really do much. So, but the good thing is I know it was bad because my mom came in because I didn't know myself because I got 5 declined letters in my mail. 5. And I'm like, why did I get declined all 5
Wow.
university? And so I don't know. And I went to my guidance counselor and then my grandmother, who was alive at the time, she was upset because, but at the same time, my grandma was laughing. So I asked my grandma, why are you laughing? She's like, oh, because they thought you can't do it, but you can do it. Look at that. If they respond to you, it means you were capable of going into post secondary, even though it didn't put your grade in. So
Right.
yeah, so that's really what happened with the teachers and guidance counselor. I did struggle a lot, especially in my grade 11 and grade 12 years, just to prove to them that I can go to university just because I'm deaf.
Wow, wow. It's interesting because we've seen so many, we Hollywood has put the story out there about people who might not be as able as others, defying the odds. And you'd think the system has caught up with the idea that there are so many ways to meet the challenges that might not be the mainstream way to meet the challenge. You'd think that within the education system, it's been done. So this is not novel. We just need to find the supports that are needed to help. But I am so happy that you kind of faced the adversity and you met the challenge. You more than met the challenge.
Yes.
You shot it out of the park. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know that you have successfully completed university. Tell us a little bit about your educational background and how that has led to what you're doing now.
Yes, so I do have a psychology degree from York University, which I'm very happy. And I graduated with that program. Obviously, there was a little bit of challenge because it's new for me. And then I went to get a certificate, but now they call it just diploma. So I also have a mental health and addiction diploma as well. And
Mhm.
so the reason why I got into the two different fields is because for those who don't know, when I was younger, I used to go online to look up mental health or counselor deaf who were deaf, and I couldn't
Mhm.
find anybody. They're
Right.
0%, and they're all American. And so right there, and I asked myself, what can I do to change the world by just doing that, by looking up? And so I realized that I need to do something different. And I don't know how it came up. And again, I was like in grade 12 because I was struggling with it so much. And and that's when I think I was talking to somebody. I think it was like an adult. I don't remember who it was. And they said, Kalina, why don't you become the first deaf psychologist, first deaf? And so I was like, there's no way I could be that. And so again, because of all these guilt I got from teachers doubting me, right? So I didn't think I was capable of it. So
Right.
until one day, I used to work at Canada's Wonderland. A little boy approached me. He was also deaf, and my hair was in a ponytail. You could see my hearing aid in both ears. And the mom, he was so happy. And the mom came to me. She was like, she almost cried, but you could see the tears in her eyes. And she's like, "Oh my God, like you're deaf and you're in the hearing community space." And I was like, "Yes." I'm confused. Why? So so she looked at me laughing too, because she's like, "Is this normal for you, Clean?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I'm the only deaf person in my family, so it's like it's normal. And she's like, "No,
Right.
I've been telling my son there's nothing wrong with him. And now that you give him that hope and that faith that he can still be whatever he want to be." And I would never forget that day, honestly. And that boy was so happy after, and he saw me.
Wow.
And that's when I knew right there. And I said, you know what? I really do want to make a change for the younger generation. And that's why
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to go
There's
do it.
you often hear, the phrase representation matters.
Yeah.
And the concept, yes, it's true, but it's often spoken in light of, race or,
Yeah.
minorities or even sexual orientation, where we talk about, representation matters. And yes, it does. But we don't often see deaf representation in the places and spaces where, we all operate. We don't see people who are deaf doing phenomenal things and living a normal life. Lord knows what normal is these days. But,
True. True.
living independently, you don't often see that, and successfully, I should add. You don't often see examples of that. So I think, to that boy that you met, that was representation, actually having the chance to change his world, quite possibly, and open up opportunities to him, that maybe perhaps others were saying to him, it's not for you because you're deaf. But advocating for others can be as simple as showing up in the spaces where people may not expect to find you. So,
Yeah.
you can work independently, you can earn a living, and be social in where everyone is, and participate actively. Your work, is it directly as a psychologist, or is there something else? Do you use that psychology knowledge and that degree in a different way now?
Yeah, so I do use a lot of my psychology knowledge into my coaching business. Same thing with my mental health and addiction diploma as well. So I use that, but also too I use it for communication with different people. I think that's super
Mhm.
important because I know people communicate differently.
Yeah, yeah, that's phenomenal. So you are most actively operating as a coach, and specifically, or maybe not specifically, but you gear your practice towards young adults. Why that demographic?
Well, I mean, look at the way the new norm is now, right? The social media is kicking in a lot of there's a high number of suicidal, right? And it's not fair because the new generation, especially youth, they're the new generation.
Hmm.
We need them to learn these things because when we get older, they may not be no doctors or lawyers when they get older because they don't have that support system or even that reputation. And there's a lot of youth who are not comfortable talking to older people who are a
Yeah,
therapist or a counselor. They're like, can you relate to my story? You're too old. And a
yeah,
lot of youth
that's true.
nowadays, they're very outspoken and they know what they want. And they kind of remind me because I'm not too off from them, but when they do see me and they're like, I want to talk to her, not her, not the other person, because I'm young. So a lot of youth will only look up to people who are young and who are similar age gap, I would say.
Yeah.
Not someone who is like all the way in the late 30s or 40s. Unfortunately, that's the case. But so that's definitely why I choose youth. And also too, it reminds me of me, right? My younger
Hmm.
self, right? It
Yeah.
reminds me of my younger self and saying, wow, like these kids are struggling because there's not a lot of resources, there's not a lot of programs that's available because of the wait list, right? The wait list
Yeah.
is so long for the youth. And it's like,
Oh my
why there's
gosh.
right? Why is it so long? So I really wanted to use my practice to collaborate with different youth organizations to see if we can conduct those wait lists to help those youth who are in need.
Yeah, having access to resources, it's such a game changer. But you are right. Those wait lists are daunting, and not everyone can access private care but we
Yes.
can certainly work to, advocate for adjustments to be made within the system for better funding for these programs as well, so that everyone can be well supported. But tell me this, Kellina, you were not born deaf. You were not always deaf.
Yeah.
You lost hearing as a child. Tell me a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, so I actually lost my hearing due to an ear infection. So what happened was I was at daycare. I don't know what happened. Again, I don't remember it. And so I remember my doctor gave my mom a prescription. It's like an ear drop. And so she gave it to the staff members and they put it in. I don't know if they put it in too much, wrong time. I don't know. But that
Mm-hmm.
same day when they did that, when I was going home, I realized my hearing dropped
Oh,
until I went watch TV. I was watching TV, and then my mom tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Kalina, I've been calling you." So I'm looking at my mom, so confused. I said, "What is wrong with this girl? Why is she looking at me like that?" And so I said,
right,
"Mom, I can't hear you." And my mom said, "What are you talking about? What?" So my mom freaked out. Luckily, my grandma was the nurse at the time, and my
right.
grandma rushed home from the hospital. She bought all these tools to do things in my ears, and I looked at my grandma confused again. I said, "Grandma, I can't hear you." And so my grandma got very confused as well. I saw my grandmother and my mom talking back and forth. And my grandma picked up the phone and she's like, she said something. And then the next day, again, I can't hear anything. I was confused. I didn't know what was happening. So my mom and grandma and my aunt had to like tell me what to do, like by my hand, like, okay, you're going this, like, because I can't hear. I don't know what's happening.
Right, right.
So the next day, I went to my family doctor and they broke the news to my family that there's nothing we can do. Kalina is 100% deaf in both ears.
Oh my goodness. That must have been quite traumatic. I mean, to leave your home hearing and the same day come back home not hearing?
Yeah,
Oh wow. I can't even fathom in my mind how that felt for you, how that felt for your parents, your caregivers. I don't know if you had siblings at the time, but the whole
no,
family,
no, I was young. No, I was the only
it,
child.
you were the only child, so you got 100% of the attention at that point, regardless, because you you faced a crisis. How was that for you, maneuvering the very sudden change in how you interacted with the world?
It was difficult. I don't know how my family did it. Um, like kudos to them. I was not myself. My personality changed. Like I used to be active. I used to be out there. It was very different because the audiologist suggested my family to put me in a deaf school. So my
Mhm.
family said no because
Right,
they wanted me to communicate in two different communities if that's going to be my life.
right.
So my family came up with a good idea. So they said, why don't Kalina go to a deaf school in the morning, and then the afternoon I will go to a hearing school.
Oh,
Yeah, amazing idea ever. So
so
they
you
helped
were
me.
actually enrolled in two different schools.
Yes.
Your family is smart as, oh my goodness, that is brilliant.
Yes, the very smart, exactly. So because I became deaf at 4, so I don't remember how long I had to go to school. I don't remember, but I remember when I went to the deaf school, I felt very comfortable, and then the hearing school, I was not comfortable because I couldn't pick up my sign language. So my sign language in the hearing school, I couldn't learn it, and I felt like that part of identity was ripped out when I went to the hearing world. And then when I went to the deaf school, I could be comfortable. I could learn my sign language, and it was so convenient. But for me to navigate two different worlds was very interesting, especially as a 4-year-old who's trying to learn how to communicate with two different worlds. I don't know how I did it. I really don't remember. But I knew I was frustrated that one day because I did not want to go to the hearing school,
Right.
and my family told me, unfortunately, that that school was too far. They had to pull me out of it when I was in grade 3 because it
Mhm.
was really far, right? My mom was a young mom. My grandmother was a nurse. Not a lot of people in my family could do all the transportation for my mom. So it was
Right.
very, very difficult. So I ended up going to the hearing school full time when I was in grade 3. So it was,
Wow.
yeah. So it was a lot of juggling for me, especially trying to understand how to communicate. So that was the biggest thing I struggled a lot. And also my personality, it was super different. So one minute I'm good, the next minute I'm sad, the next minute I'm frustrated, and my family understand because they knew what I was going through because I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, especially when you're in these types of situations, you're trying to control your world as much as you can because so much already is outside of your control. And as a child, you are not born equipped to maneuver that kind of scenario. I mean, children as a whole have very little control in many environments because other people are making decisions for you, other people are moving you physically from here to there and what have you. But on top of that, you're facing a new trauma, a new way of living, a new way of interacting. And somehow you became the deaf queen boss. So how did you how did you maneuver? So I can totally see that a big part of you being deaf queen boss is personality. I can see the sass, girl. I can see the not today, not on my watch. Reel and come again. So I can see aspects of that kind of peeking through, but how what steps did you take to kind of move from a position of perceived helplessness to a position of I am in control of my destiny?
Oh boy, that's a good question. It was it took me years to get here. A lot of people always ask me, "How do you build a confidence? You're so confident to embrace the deafness." And I said, "Oh no, no, no! It took me a very long time to get here, guys." I would
Mm-hmm.
say having the strong support system. I think that's what helped me get through that level because I feel like without our support system, we won't be able to go far. And my
Yeah.
support system always advocate for me when I need it. They are not shy at all. So if you have a very strong, lion, solid support system, you're gonna go far. But if you have
Yeah.
somebody who concerned how to support you, you won't go far. And number two is being honest with myself, be honest what I need help with. And that's something I struggled a lot when I was trying to learn who I am as a person while I was growing up. What do I need from other
Mm-hmm.
people to support me? How can I speak up? I did see I would say some counselor throughout my university to
Mm-hmm.
understand how can I speak up for myself, especially if I'm struggling.
Right.
So it had not been easy. What I did was I really again just told myself at the end of the day, it's my life and I am control of my life and how I want it to look like.
Right.
And this was something that I had to take in for a while and say, I have to be honest with myself. This is what I need help with, and this is what I need. And I realized that at the end of the day, everybody's going to need help. You're not perfect. And that's what I keep reminding myself all the time. I'm not perfect. Everyone needs help. I need help. So
Yeah.
that's really how I got through it. And also come down to mindset, right? How well are you good? How good are you with your mindset? If you have a very negative mindset that, oh my God, no one wants to help me, no one wants to advocate for me, I would never get far. But because instead I break that negativity and think, you know what, I can't have that in my life. I want a sunshine in my life. I do not want cloud in my life. And
Yes.
so like we all love sunshine. We all need it, but it's how how patient can we go? How far can
Yeah.
we go? So that's how literally how I did it.
Wow. I think that your self-awareness, and I know this doesn't happen overnight. I get that.
And
And I know it's not always up
yeah.
here. Sometimes you're like, not today. Sometimes the all of the the affirmations and all of the gusto, that energy to move boundaries and jump over barriers, sometimes it's just not happening. So I get that. But I think what I'm hearing from you, a big part of your, taking control and getting into that driver's seat was self-awareness, understanding who you are, what you needed, and advocating for that support, speaking out on your own behalf, and that mega support system that you had. So how are you now being that support for your clients? Because let's be honest, Kellina, not every person who's dealing with hearing loss has that kind of support system. How are you now helping others and becoming that support system?
So I recently a client who just struggled to find that support system, and I was talking to her about finding a group, join a
Mhm.
group,
Right.
because I am part of a different group. Like for example, some of you may not know there is a deaf and hard of hearing community center down the street, downtown.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, I
a lot
didn't
of
know
people.
that.
Yes, there is. And also there's a deaf camp that happens every summer for adults for the weekend in Paris Downs. A lot of people don't know that. And so I provide a lot of resources. I provide a lot of connection with my client just because they don't know. A lot of clients don't know a lot of resources, especially for those who are disabled. There's not enough community out there how they think there isn't, and I keep telling them there's so many, and then I'm grateful that I'm able to meet with them and provide that resources because everybody needs someone that we can lean our shoulder onto, and that's what my
Yeah.
clients need. They need community, they need support, they need someone who can understand what they're going through, not family members, not friends. We just need someone in our niche and our community.
Yeah, I think the family members, they all have the best of intentions, but they're also in the struggle and they have to deal with their own trauma around what's happening. They have to deal with it. It's kind of like why physicians don't operate on their family members. It's one of those things where you need to have a certain amount of distance in order
Yeah.
for you to operate well and make decisions quickly without having to rifle through a whole lot of emotional feedback, questions, probably some behavioral loops, and all of that goes into when we interact with family members. I can see young people definitely gravitating to the work that you're doing. Do you only work with people who are dealing with hearing loss, or do you also help with other challenges?
I also help with other challenges. A lot of people always reach out to me, "Can I work with you?" And I'm like, "Of course you can." They're like, your story is just so inspiring. I'm pretty sure I can get so much value out of you. So I'm open for everybody.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, what you're sharing, it's human resilience. What you're sharing here is actually a trait that everyone can benefit from. So it's us learning how to deal with trauma. It's us learning how to deal with grief because in your case, I'm sure there was a healthy measure of grief at the loss of hearing because you had it before. How do you navigate through that grief and loss? And do you still have, does it still come up for you at this point?
So for me, dealing with grief, to be honest with a lot of you guys, I have not. I was always on the go, go, go because I never took time for myself and trying to learn who I am as a person. So that's something I just struggled. I felt like I started my grief was probably in middle school or high school
Mm-hmm.
because I got because of the bullying I did face when I was younger. So I think that's when it started the grief. Um, I honestly again I my family just is always there if I want to talk to them, and my grandmother was always making sure I was okay. So my grandma's my rock. She's my everything,
Yeah.
and she was just always that. And so now that I'm older, she passed away before COVID. So now I'm older now. I understand why she would ask me these questions. I'm like, why you would ask me every single day, you guys? Not one day my grandma missed. Every single day. And so now I understand. And now I'm older, yes, I still go through it because now I'm actually in the community with the deaf community now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely helping me to learn about different hearing loss because I didn't know when I was growing up. I was not educated. Even my own audiologists, they never really educated me on my hearing loss, to be honest with a lot of you guys.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what grief was when I was younger. So yeah, so now I
Yeah.
am, yeah.
You know what? I think when I hear you talk about your grandma, I think to myself, you really don't need a psychology degree to be able to meet a need, whether it's mental, emotional, or otherwise, because your grandma was well aware, and you did say she worked in the medical field, so
Yes.
she knew or probably understood long before you probably did what may have been going on for you on the inside that had nothing to do directly with your ears, but
Yeah.
had definitely had a result that was showing up. So you benefited greatly from your grandma's experience, and I'm sure she probably set the tone for the support you needed by being that matriarch. Do you find that there's a thing when women are empowered?
Yes, I love it. I honestly love it because it just makes me melt so much because we women gone through so much, including history, right? We go way back, right? So we came a long way, and I love when women support each other. I'm all about supporting women, and it's just an awe because it reminds me of back in the old days. Back in the day, we see women talking to each other, trying to figure
Yes.
things out, and I'm like, oh my god, I love that. And then,
Yes.
of course, this new society and this new, it's just nowadays women don't get along anymore now, right? The whole jealousy, and so I love it when women come together because that's my favorite thing ever. Every time I see a woman that don't get along with each other, I'm like, listen, put your ego down, get along. Because listen, we can do 10 times more things together.
Yes, 100%. And the I'm surprised that you're saying that, back in the day women got along, because the women not getting along, it's down in history. But it's only in, I think there are scenarios where the system perpetuates the division of women.
Yeah,
And that might be a whole other conversation. But there are systems that have been set up that benefit from women not coming together, because within those systems, we know that when women come together, societies change, things
100%.
happen. It's a beautiful, amazing thing that happens when women come together in unity and synergy with that common goal. And I can see how you empowering women who are dealing with hearing loss, whether it's 50% or 100%, that can move the needle in such amazing ways. So tell us then, you've shared that you have 100% hearing loss, but you are hearing me. So help us understand, what are the resources you use? What are, whether you use it or that you know of, but how is it that you, someone dealing with 100% hearing loss, can hear me and have this conversation in real time? I don't sign. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I get this all the time. People be shocked, you guys. So for me, I wear hearing aids in both ears. So my hearing aid is very, very amazing. It's very unique. So my hearing aid is a Bluetooth. It's like an AirPod. So every time someone talks to me, it automatically goes to my ear. It doesn't come out of the speaker. So for example, I'm using my iPad. My iPad is Apple, obviously. And so my hearing aid is connected and it's used very well with Apple devices.
Mhm.
So I need to be using Apple devices in order to hear very well, especially like
Okay.
something like this. And second thing is I use closed captions a lot of times. Some of you probably think, okay, what about in person? In person, I always look at someone straight to the face, and I'm a huge lip reader, so I need to read lips a lot. And if you are currently turning your face, I 100% will not hear you at all. I'll be like, I'm so sorry, but can you turn your head for me so I can see what you're saying?
Right.
So like me, I can hear 90% of the time. However, because the way I grew up, I'm so used to lip reading. 90% of the time I'm lip reading, but I'm also listening 50% of the time. And
Okay.
yeah, so that's how I navigate the hearing loss. So I'm doing two things while I'm communicating with someone. Yes, it's a lot.
Yes, you are. And you're also proficient with American Sign Language?
I used to be, but because I went to the hand school full time, they didn't have my sign language, so I lost it. So right now, I've been learning my sign language since last year.
Oh, wow. Who would have thought? Because, well, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So you're
Yeah,
out of practice, I guess. So building that up again. I think it's phenomenal. And I know a lot of times, people kind of bash technology, but technology is really phenomenal when it can help bridge those
Gap,
gaps.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's extraordinary. And I think recently, well, maybe a month or two ago, I believe seeing in your I think it may have been LinkedIn that you were kind of testing out some apps that we could use on
Yes,
teleconferences and so on. So there are ways that accommodation can be made so that we can all be comfortable when we're in those kinds of settings.
exactly. Yeah. So there's so many different apps now. Thankfully, there are different apps now. I know a lot of people, especially those who don't speak, but they rely on sign language. There is app now that it's an interpreter app. So if you need an interpreter, you can download the app and then you can have a fully conversation without having to look for an interpreter all the time.
Okay. So then if like you just made a point here, if the deaf person is nonverbal, so they're not speaking,
Mhm.
the interpretation app can like
Sorry.
interpret their hand signs and
Yes,
then closed caption that.
they can speak for the client.
Oh,
Yeah. So for example, the way you and I right now, I could have a third person in here and signing for me, and then I could speak it or the person would speak. It depends how the person communicate, but I know if someone completely deaf and they do sign language, the client would not speak. The interpreter would be speaking for the client.
wow. You know what? I'm so happy that all of this is available. It's long overdue,
Yes,
long,
it is.
long, long overdue. And I think the world is missing out on brilliant contributions from the minds of those who may be deaf or differently able. So long overdue. I'm so happy that you were able to share that. And I'm loving your whole approach to this, like your message in everything that you're doing. It's like, don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anyone stop you from like achieving your dreams. So I'm going to ask you, what are some of the dreams that you're kind of gung-ho to achieve for yourself or for your community?
I would say, well, now I'm a full-time author now. So my goal is to continue writing books, but also for children and for youth. That is my goal, and also continue spreading my messages globally, not just in Canada, but also in United States, Australia, United Kingdom. So that is definitely my goal, is to get myself globally and just impact more than 1,000 clients a year or even more if I can. So that is
Yes.
definitely my goal.
Oh, I can't wait. I love being the person who kind of sits, the fly on the wall,
Oh,
watching and listening and seeing the impact. I'll be cheering for you all the way along, Kellina, because your work is impactful and without overstating it, your work is life changing. So keep on keeping on. So tell the people before I let you go, where can we find you in those interweb streets? So where are you online?
I am on LinkedIn. It's Kellina Powell. As well, Facebook, same thing. And Instagram is actually a little bit different. So Instagram, my name is Deaf Queen Boss. Okay, so you guys can find me there.
And your website?
Yeah. So my website, KellinaEmpowerment.com.
Ah, sweet, wonderful. You know what? I hope that we can reach someone who's going to be impacted by your work. But I know that I've already been impacted. I have been so inspired. And I hope to be more than just someone who talks about this. I hope that myself and those who watch this or listen to it can become advocates, actively working together to create a world where all of us can thrive and achieve our dreams and goals and, just be happy humans. I'd love to have that. So thanks again, Kellina.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And to all of you, thank you so much for listening in or watching our podcast today. It has been my absolute pleasure to have you, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me today on Catalyst Conversations. I hope this episode sparked something powerful to help on your journey to building wealth confidently and unapologetically. If you loved today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if something resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep moving toward your goals, stay empowered, and continue sparking change on your wealth journey. This is Hadriana, and you've been listening to Catalyst Conversations.